Hey everybody, it's Peter, and in this video we're going to talk about choosing the right scooter for your young driver and adding a scooter to your household. So, first things first, I'm filming here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals, Jim Gilbert's Power Sports, and if there's a question that you have that I didn't answer in this video, make sure you subscribe and let me know in the comments what you want to know, because Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals gives me complete access to their entire vehicle lineup, so I can come back and answer your question both in the comments and in future videos. The other thing that's important about Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals is they are in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and licensing requirements here are different than other areas of the world. So a very popular thing to do is to bring in a 50cc scooter for a 14-year-old driver. A 14-year-old driver here in New Brunswick can legally drive a vehicle like this after they take a test. The other nice thing about that is if you were to add a vehicle like this for your 14-year-old, if you have a car license, you can also drive this without any additional licensing requirements. So it's a kind of popular thing to do, especially here in Fredericton. That's why Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals sells so many of these. So I'm going to walk through a couple things to think about as you're getting a young rider ready, and they may apply to you if you've never ridden any kind of motorized vehicle, motorcycle type vehicle as well. And we'll show you some things to keep in mind, things to look at, and just basically start the discussion about what to look for, and if you have questions, we'll go from there. So let's start with the two vehicles I have in front of me right here. This is a Vespa. This is a Primavera, I believe. We call it the Picnic. Yes, Primavera, but it's the Picnic edition. So this is kind of the top of the line in that 50cc class. It's got a little picnic blanket here, got a little picnic basket here, and we'll talk about that as we move through. On the other end here, other than being a little bit of black trim instead of chrome, it's about $100 more. This is kind of the lower end of the spectrum, and you have some things here that may make this a better vehicle for you than that, but it kind of depends. So we're going to walk through each one, showing you the pros and the cons, and we're also going to talk about it in the perspective of a young driver. My first vehicle, first one I ever drove, was a little small CC scooter. I think it's a great way to learn to start, great way to learn the rules of roads, and it gives you a lot of freedom both for the child and for yourself, so you don't have to drive them everywhere anymore. All right, so let's start with just preparing your young rider to be on the road on something like a scooter. A lot of people find that kind of an intimidating thing, but really the top speed of these 50cc models, and that 50cc matters because that's the class that you're allowed to drive at 14 years old. It's also the class that you're allowed to drive without that full car license if you're over 16. So the key thing to remember is that the top speed of these is really only about double the top speed of this. This is an e-bike, it's a Piaggio e-bike, and a bicycle is a great way to get your kid ready for going on the road, and an e-bike is even better. And the great thing about it here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals is they have Piaggio e-bikes, and they should be able to be renting them this summer. I think the plan is to rent some of these this summer. So even if you don't own one of these, you can go out and try one of these. And the best thing I recommend before you jump on a scooter, if you're a little bit nervous about that, is take your young driver out to a parking lot on an e-bike. Now, e-bikes can be used by pedaling, but they also have a throttle, especially if they're Piaggio e-bikes. This throttle is going to be something that you should really get used to. On and off the throttle, and the brakes work the exact same on a scooter as they do on a bicycle. Rear brake here, front brake there. On a motorcycle, it's rear brake on the hand, front brake on the hand, rear brake on your right foot. So that's different than a scooter. But if you're nervous, you can get them up to speed, you can give it some throttle, you can make sure they stop on a line. The hardest thing to do on a motor scooter versus something like a bicycle is slow speed maneuvers. They're not super difficult, but you can see your comfort level on that by doing a slow speed maneuver with just the throttle, not pedals, on an e-bike and get them comfortable, because once you've mastered a few slow speed maneuvers on this, you're completely ready to start trying that. So that's my advice. Try one of these out first. If you aren't really comfortable doing the throttle only, braking on the spot, figure eights, tight turns, if you're not really comfortable doing that, practice a little bit on this before you get on that. And most people don't find these too intimidating. So once you're comfortable operating something like an e-bike, something with a throttle, something with throttle and regular brakes, then you can move to scooters. But which one do you buy? Which one's better for you? Well, the Vespa is more money. Even without some of the picnic package, it is going to cost more. You're paying a little bit for that classic style. It does have a little bit more advanced frame where the body is part of the frame, and there are pieces on there that do cost more. Now that may not matter to you. You know, you can see a little example here. This front wheel is completely open, where this has more traditional forks. That design costs more, and that's what you get. So if you love the style of the Vespa, maybe that's the one for you. But there are some benefits that don't always fit certain price categories. It's not like if you pay more, you get better. It just depends on what you're looking for. So one thing to keep in mind is this Piaggio here does have a larger front wheel. It's a 16-inch front wheel here, a 14-inch in the back, where these are 12-inch wheels front and rear. And that can matter for a few different reasons. Obviously, these are different than riding a bicycle. You're gonna notice that there's a little bit more immediate handling. And if you're going through a lot of large potholes, the first time you get this, it's nice to try not going over like massive bumps, but get used to kind of going over bumps, kind of heading into a little bit of a corner with a couple little ripples and bumps in there, just because smaller wheels do feel different than a bicycle. Now again, you have suspension on both of these, so you have some advantage front and rear. They're not unstable in any way. That's why, you know, literally millions of people around the world drive scooters, but there's a different feel than something like a bicycle. If you want to keep to a larger diameter wheel, they can handle bumps a little different. They can handle speed a little different, but of course, speed's not a whole lot of difference. Actually, speed's going to be basically the same between the both, but you may want to go with a larger front wheel. It's just something to keep in mind. You know, either one is good, but these ones, some people like those, especially if you're in a really rough area. You just have that little bit larger diameter that, again, some people like. As far as engines on both of these, they are identical. Same engine, same transmission, same powertrain setup on both. It's twist and go, no gears to change. So it's, again, same thing as an e-bike, twist and go. These ones are twist and go as well. So pretty simple to operate, but this tire size is something that's going to be a difference. Let's also look at some of the storage inside, because that may appeal to you on one more than another. So the first storage space I want to point out is built into the scooter here. There are obviously our accessory stuff, and we'll talk about that as we move through. But in these 50cc scooters, you have a little pocket here and here. This Picnic model has a little USB port right there, so if you were to stick your phone in there or your wallet, those kind of things, you also have a USB area that can charge that. That's kind of your daily, everyday, throw the basics in there, maybe some sunglasses, those kind of things. But you have a package like that on both scooters here. You also on this 50cc have a flip-up seat, and let's show you on the Vespa first, and then we'll show you the same things on the Liberty. First thing I want to show you, this Picnic Vespa has some cool details. Again, when I said this is a bit more expensive option, you've got this strap across here, the different colors here, nice kind of detailing in here that you won't see the same exact level of detail on the Piaggio Liberty that we're about to show you. Flip the seat up here, you can turn the key on these 50cc models here, so if I just get the key in far enough and turn it up, there you can see, underneath the seat, you can fit a 3/4 face helmet. So this is a typical Vespa 3/4 face helmet, easily fits underneath there. There's some talk of certain full face helmets fitting in here. I could see that happening on some. And you can see this is a nice big bucket there, so you can fit large items in there. That comes out and you can see the engine. It does not come out on the Liberty. So if I don't take it out on the Liberty, that's why. If you want to use this for storage while you're driving, of course, you have all of that space in there. And when you park, you can do two things. You can throw your helmet in here, or there's a place to hook your helmet on the outside here, which I'm going to show you in just one second, and that will allow you to keep this lockable space for whatever you put in there in the first place. So if you wanted to lock your helmet to the bike or to the scooter here and keep your stuff locked in, all you need is a little D-ring on your helmet or a little hook like this. This is a Vespa branded helmet. You can throw it down here on this little hook right there, and it sits there. Close the seat like this, and now you've got a way to keep your helmet locked there. Now it can still be touched, but it can't really be stolen without being cut off there, so that's harder to do. And you can still lock everything you need in here, and of course that is secured as well. So you do have the option of keeping your helmet locked to the device or locked to the scooter outside of the storage area if that's something you want to do, and that's the same on both. You can do that on the Liberty or on the Vespa. So taking a look at the Piaggio Liberty, you can see a little bit more of a plain seat here, but they do still have contrasting stitching. So you've got red up here, kind of a grayish thread across the back there. You can see that, right? There we go, red and gray, a little harder to see. Now this one doesn't have a keyhole in the side. Just like the upper end Vespas, it has a little button that you press on the handlebar here, press the handlebar, and that unlatches it here. The other difference is, again, this is not user removable. It has some screws that keep it in, and it does have a little extra spot up here. So it's a slight little bit smaller. You're not fitting a full face helmet in here for sure, but a 3/4 face like we just had should fit no problems in there. And again, same idea. You can hook a helmet off the edge. There's a little thing here. Your gasoline fill is up front instead of out back on this, but just a hair smaller space in this. I think part of that has to do with the larger wheel. There's some emissions control pieces in there that just take up a little different setup than in something like the Vespa. But again, good storage in both. So we'll show you the storage in here as well on the Piaggio Liberty. You can see, again, same thing, maybe a little bit less space in these little trays right here. This one does not have a USB port that I see. Oh, maybe it does, I'm not sure. No, I don't think it does. So there is a little bit less space again in here. So overall, larger wheels, but a tiny bit less space here on the Piaggio Liberty. But you also have this right here. Now I'm going to show you the Vespa equivalent. This one here is a little hook that has a top on it, and you can put a backpack, a bag, whatever, and the floor is flat on the Liberty. It's a little bit raised on the Vespa. We'll show you the difference there, but you can always throw on a scooter a bag or a grocery bag or something like that between your legs here that hangs through here and keeps it secure and sits on the floorboard. So it's lots of storage, lots of luggage carrying capabilities here. And I'll show you the Vespa difference. This one is quite high up and on the flat floor. The Vespa is going to be a little lower, different location, and not a flat floor. So the Vespa also has a little grocery bag hanger. It's a little different. It does not have a closing top, so it doesn't have that circle that kind of closes around the bag. And again, because of this raised floor, you have a little bit less space overall to put a bag in here. And because it doesn't have that closing top, it's a little less secure. You could close it in here, but there's a chance it'll just fall right back out, depending on what's in there. But the point is, you can still use it on the Vespa. It's just a little bit lower, and the floor is a little bit higher, so you have a tiny bit less space on that particular hook. If you need more storage space, you can see here there's lots of options, different kinds of boxes. These ones are actually pretty much identical, but you can get a color-matched Vespa box on the rear rack, which is kind of nice to have. Again, that'll fit something like a helmet, and then it keeps it locked as well. So very simple solution to more storage. But the cool one is the Picnic, which is right in the background. We're gonna go look at that up close, which is the scooter we're looking at today. So the Vespa Picnic is pretty cool because it has this kind of wicker basket, and this is an actual model. These are not accessories. This is a Vespa Primavera Picnic. And you can unstrap these here, so we'll just do this one here. Nice leather straps here. We'll do this one as well. You've got the name that says the Vespa Picnic right there, and when you open this up, you've got a place to hold plates, place to hold cutlery, and then you also have an interior bag which you can load up with all of your gear. It even has a rain cover inside of that which you can put on over this. So if you wanted something a little more stylish, Vespa certainly offers that. And again, this is an entire model range, so your footboards and your seat are also kind of color matched to some of this wicker kind of stuff. So it's a pretty cool way to kind of tie everything together. And if you take this sort of food container out, you've got a wicker basket there that's still lined and able to take your regular everyday things like a laptop, school work, school other stuff. Easy to do. This one obviously wouldn't lock just because it is a wicker, but it gives you that traditional look. The next thing you should consider if you're looking at either of these two is seating position. They're going to be similar, but there is some slight difference. Now, first of all, because it is on its center stand, the rear wheel is actually off the ground. Now, I can put both feet up here when it's on the center stand, which is why I'm going to leave it, but if it looks like maybe you might be too short for this, you're probably not. The seat narrows at the front. You can stand off the seat if you're shorter, but again, it's significantly lower when it gets off the center stand, puts the rear wheel on the ground, and it sags on the suspension. But you can see here at 6 feet tall, there's a ton of space here for my knees. Even if you're really tall, you've got lots of space. The Vespa is just a little bit more upright and forward. Both of these scooters are going to offer you wind and weather protection. So even if it starts to rain or something like that, you haven't got the wheel spraying you like it would on a bicycle or on a lot of motorcycles. Your feet can stay relatively dry on wet roads, and you've got that extra protection here. So overall, very comfortable position. You have the ability to take passengers depending on your license class. These aren't super powerful, so again, passengers in and around town, short-term trips, that would work, and there are foot pegs for them as well. But overall, as a single person type thing, you've got a good view here. The mirrors are up close to you. So of course, holding a mirror close to you, you get a wider angle view, and they're also wide angle mirrors. They have objects in the mirror are closer than they appear on both sides, unlike your car, which would have it only on the right side. So you've got good wide angle mirrors that are up close to you that can help you see over your shoulder, and visibility is great. It's just a lot of fun on these. So here's my position here on the Vespa. Same basic features here on the Piaggio. A little tiny bit less foot space, but I have size 11s on, and you have plenty of room here to move. And again, it is a flat floor, so you can kind of move your ankles around a little bit more. The handlebars feel just a little tiny bit lower to me than on the Vespa, but again, whether you're tall or short, both of these are going to work really well for you and be pretty comfortable. I just want to touch on safety. This is the Piaggio Liberty, again with a larger front wheel. It allows for a fairly large front brake. It appears to be a larger front brake to me than on the Vespa, which would make sense. They are very much motorcycle style brakes. They have vented calipers, which is going to allow you to just dissipate the heat better. They can handle all the braking that these things are going to need because again, top speeds 50, 60 kilometers an hour, and even if you're ripping downhill, you've got plenty of braking power right here. And the one thing to notice here is, like I said, you've got the fork tubes on both sides here, so more of a traditional look with a fairly large disc brake. Let's take a look at the Vespa, just see the differences. So the Vespa has a lot more busyness in here. You still have a disc brake that's a vented disc brake. It does appear to be just a little bit smaller to me. I don't know that that makes a huge difference in stopping power given the speeds that these are going to go out. But remember, this has no fork tube on the other side. This is mounted a lot more like an automotive wheel, like a car wheel. So this suspension design here is sort of an anti-dive suspension. So when you jam on the front brakes, it doesn't quite dive as much, or at least resists the dive. And again, you still have the disc brakes there with this different style suspension. So very similar concept on both of them, just a different style of doing the same thing. Another difference I want to point out between these two is right here you have LED marker lights that are very hard to film. You have a same idea right here with the LED marker lights, little different style, but they're the white LEDs. Now you may notice there is a difference in headlights here. This has the incandescent bulb, which is sort of the traditional bulb. This is an LED light. So you've got the ability to use high beam and low beam on both. Again, actually I don't know if the high beam will, yep, it'll flash a little bit there. And then the high beam over here, which is, there we go, high beam and low beam. So we'll show you the controls there. It is nice to have a bright white LED light, but again, you pay a little extra, you get a little extra. These are probably perfectly fine for the speed you're going. You're not going to overdrive your headlight, but you do have that option there of the difference. Again, these LEDs look pretty cool. They don't film very well, but they look cool as driving lights, but your headlight is a little more amber in color compared to the white LED of the Vespa. We're going to take a look at the controls in the dash of each as well. They function the same way, but they look a little different. So your high beam here is high beam and low beam. Signal lights, you turn them on left or right like that, and you cancel them by pressing the center. The horn is down there. So that's left side control. We'll show you the right side control and the dash, and then we'll move over to the Liberty as well. Right side control, every motorcycle has an engine kill switch, which just basically turns the engine off but leaves it on, kind of sets it to accessory mode. So you can do that right here in an emergency. You don't have to go digging for the key. You can just do that. So that's just a standard safety item. This is a mode button. It's going to switch through things in your dash like trip meter and odometer. And this is the start switch. So when you turn the key on this, it turns to the on position and you use that to actually start it. And then the throttle, just twist and go. And there's your brake right there. Same controls on each, but they look different. We're going to show you the dash first, and then we'll move to show you the visual differences between the controls. So staying with the Vespa here, if I turn the key to the on position, you will see that you have a dash that goes up to 80 kilometers an hour. Now the vehicle won't go up that fast unless you're going, downhill maybe, but 50-ish, 60-ish, that's where your speed's gonna be for these 50cc models. Down here, you've got a fuel gauge, you've got your total kilometers, which we can cycle through trip A, trip B, and your total kilometers as well. And then your clock down there. So very simple, easy to use dash. If we turn the signals on, you will see that both signal lights flash. Doesn't matter which way you're turning, left or right. We have the right signal on right now. If I go left signal, it's the same indicator, but it does tell you that A signal is on. You can hit the cancel switch to turn that off. Same function on both. Let's show you how they look different on the Liberty. So left side control on the Liberty, you can see this is a more modern looking scooter overall. The Vespa is more that vintage look, and with that you get more modern switchgear. So headlights are always on, but that would be your high beam up there. If you want to flash to pass, you have that option by just tapping that button down there, which is kind of nice. Signal lights function the same way, but look a little bit different. Horn is right there, and this is that button that pops the seat. On the Vespa 50cc, you don't have a button that pops the seat. On the 150 you would, but that's a little bit different class. So this one still has that ability to pop the seat electrically. With the Vespa, you're using the key. Let's look at the right side now. Right side of the controls, same idea. You've got your kill switch right over here. You've got your start switch there, and the mode button here will be what controls basically the same features in the dash. So you've got the mode button there that's labeled mode, whereas the other vehicle, it just has a button that is unlabeled. All right, taking a look at the dash, we're battling a little bit of glare here on the system. You can see very similar idea. This is basically, actually it is identical to the Vespa. Speedometer is a little different, goes up to 80 as well. Same function, just a little different look. So maybe you're thinking about getting your young driver a scooter. It does do a few things. It gives them some freedom, frees up you from driving them around everywhere, and if you have a little bit of a garage space or a little bit of driveway space even, You've got an extra vehicle that you can use as well, which makes these a pretty good value. They're also very, very efficient on fuel, so you're going to save fuel for those around town trips. Now, a couple things to remember with these 50cc class. You can get either of these scooters in a 150cc, and you can get bigger engine scooters from there, from both Vespa and Piaggio. And all of those are available here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals, Jim Gilbert's Power Sports, and we're filming in a snowstorm in January, and it's a great day to come check out which one's best for you. If you want to license your 14-year-old driver, this class, this 50cc, is what you're going to be looking at. So some version of these two scooters are going to be the best option for you. If you're looking for a scooter for yourself, then you can move up to different sizes. If you're 16 and older, you can look at other options that are out there. So are these right for you? Well, they're great in poor weather. Even if it rains, you're not going to get too wet. They are in town only due to the engine size, so they're going to keep you, have some speed. Depending on your licensing, you can take a second passenger around town if that makes it easier for you. They're compact, they're efficient, they're really fun, and they're just kind of cool to look at. So if one of these appeals to you, make sure you swing by Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals, and if you want to know more about these, make sure you let me know in the comments section so I can both answer your questions in the comments and make future videos for you. Thanks everybody for watching.